What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. Talk some betting trends, looking ahead as we do several times throughout the week at the following week's odds. These are week 10 odds. Joining me to do so, Tyler Sullivan, aka Sully. What's up, buddy?
What's going on? How you doing?
I'm good.
I'm on a roll this week. I'm on a bunch of these with you.
I know you really are. Yeah, welcome to you. You've been wrangled in. Hey, could be. I mean, I guess it could be, could be worse. Could be better. Could be worse. I still can't get over the Jim Irsay press conference. By the way, it's all I can think about.
Unbelievable! It's so awesome. The upper quadrant of the upper quadrant,
of the upper quadrant, it's upper quartile of the top quartile of the upper quartile. I might change my Twitter profile to that.
It is
residing in the upper quartile.
It was the upper quartile of the upper quartile of press conferences for sure.
It was the upper quartile of the top quartile of the upper quartile for press conference. Absolutely. Anyway, let's talk some betting trends. We begin with the Seahawks and the Buccaneers playing in Germany. You think they could play that game like not I don't know, not 6 a.m. in Germany?
Is that what it would be?
It's pretty early. 3:30. No, 3:30 p.m. local. Never mind.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's early for us. It's. I think it's
9:30 a.m. for us.
But I mean,
no. I know what it is. It's like 6:30 a.m. body clock time for the Seahawks.
Sure. Okay.
Which is not
whenever
ideal.
They have to get over there, or if they're over there. I honestly don't even know what their flight schedule is. But yeah, now that's a little off. But ultimately, what would you say? 6 o'clock their time, like PM? Yeah, I don't know. Bump that up a little bit. Call it an 11 a.m. and noontime start.
Yeah, they threw something. Yeah.
I mean, they got to interfere with the 1 o'clocks, but still.
I'm actually looking at their John Boyle of Seahawks.com. The Seahawks will leave Wednesday to head to Munich, where they will face the Buccaneers. The first NFL game played in Germany. So, man, so you're leaving Wednesday. It's like an NFL bowl game, Pete Carroll said. You pick up everything and you go. The fact is, we did it really well last time. We learned a lot. Matt Capurro is the star player of this whole thing. He makes the whole thing work. Really, we're going to get on the bus, get on the plane. We'll sleep a little bit longer. We'll be in a different country. It's really not that big of a deal.
I'll tell you this, though. The NFL did the players or the people who cover them dirty. I mean, you're going there in November and not October?
Yeah.
Oktoberfest? Come on.
Oktoberfest. Come on. Pete Carroll said this week's plan is, quote, really close to what the team did for the London game, including the Wednesday evening departure that, thanks to the 9-hour time difference between Seattle and Germany, puts the team in Munich the following afternoon. And like 4 years ago, the Seahawks will start their practice on Tuesday, usually a weekday off for players rather than Wednesday, meaning they'll have gotten in 2 full days of work and practice before leaving town. So they're basically trying to keep it exactly the same as they did 4 years ago. Whoa. The Seahawks have one of the biggest fan bases of any NFL team in Germany. Did not know that. Pete Carroll said that somebody told me he got 3 million requests for tickets.
Okay.
That's insane.
All right. Big Seahawks fans over there. I'm not hating it.
I guess so. Anything? I don't even know if you can take any trends away from this.
Well, this is kind of an interesting thing then, because you talk about how good the Seahawks have looked this year, first place in the NFC West. Geno Smith is like a legitimate MVP candidate. Everything that we've seen from the Buccaneers so far, outside of 40 seconds at the end of the game last week, tell you that they're not a good football team. I think anybody would say that Seattle at a neutral site would be favored, right? But they're getting 2.5 points. That feels real fishy to me.
Yeah. I mean,
especially I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of Seahawks fans.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's probably maybe more of a Seahawks game. It was 1, though, and it's moved to 2.5.
Yeah.
By the way, the Bucs will leave on their 9-hour flight, as we discovered via the wonders of the globe and the natural physical roundness of Earth, that it's actually only like 200 miles further for the Seahawks than the Buccaneers, because the Bucs are so far south and close to the equator. I'm serious. Like the circumference, like to go all the way up to Germany, like where Seattle's just going straight across.
So he's jumping onto the jet stream and doing all
that.
No,
it's just like it's like because the further up on Earth you go, the shorter the circumference, because the Earth is not a sheet of paper. It's not flat.
It's not flat. Wow.
Yeah, I know. But no, so like, I mean, I can actually show you with this helpful.
Wow, I feel like I'm in class. This is great.
Right?
This is why you watch on YouTube, folks.
So yeah, if you see this on, if you're on Tampa, you're going from here all the way up to here to Germany. Whereas if you're in Seattle, you're going straight across.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah,
And
sure.
so as a result, like like when like the distance required to travel from Tampa up, like the closer you are to the center of the Earth, the median point, the equator, the further you have to travel. Like if you were traveling from India to Mexico, that's a long ass way.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're flying from Iceland to England,
I just can't believe you had a globe like ready to go. That was awesome.
it's actually the third time I pulled it out. That's like me. It was.
So you're saying flights won't really make a huge difference.
It feels like you would think Tampa is so much closer
Yeah.
to Germany, but it's really not that much closer just because of the equator. And if the Bucks are leaving on Thursday, let's see the travel schedule. I'm curious. Just I'd like to. I mean, I'd like to know if you're leaving. If you're leaving Thursday, means you're probably arriving on Friday. I like the Seahawks in this spot. I vastly prefer the team that has more time. I think I prefer the team that has more time to adjust to being there. Maybe.
Sure. And I also just think the Seahawks are better, which I feel like is so weird.
Sure.
Getting 2.5 points. I mean, that's why I think that, I led this off in the chat this morning. This feels like a fishy line to me, because if you were telling me that this is a neutral site game, I'd tell you that the Seahawks should be the one laying the 2.5 against the Buccaneers team, who is a league worst 2-6-1 against the spread. They've not been a good bet this year. Meanwhile, Seattle, 6-3 straight up, 6-3 against the spread. As a dog, 5-2 against the spread. Everything's pointing Seattle except for the line, and that's what concerns me a little bit.
It's moved a full 1.5 too towards the Bucks.
Yeah.
It was Tampa -1. I thought it would kind of get to a pick 'em and it went the other way, which is very bizarre.
Do you think that it was that 40 seconds of we see the old Brady and they go, okay, we're gonna bank on this being the turning point for the Buccaneers, and they're going to Germany and here we go, we're off to the races? Because that's the only thing that I can really think of. Because even before that, they weren't that great. They weren't moving the ball particularly great.
Yeah, is it possible that this is people looking and saying, man, Bucks are going to stop the run. Seattle's not going to be able to do what they want in that run game. The Bucks will be able to pressure Geno a little bit, and maybe we don't see Seattle quite as dominant. Oh, they've been good on defense lately. Like the last 3 or 4 weeks, they've been good on defense.
Yeah. No, you're saying the Buccaneers?
No, the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I keep saying, Seattle feels like the better team just all the way around. Like
Sure.
we're legitimately talking about them not only winning that division, but like, are they like a sneaky NFC team all of a sudden?
Yes, I'm all in on the Seahawks. I'm with you.
It just feels a little weird to me.
The line moving that way is the only thing that scares me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like all right, well, I guess if you're going to give me 3 with Seattle. I mean, if you're giving me 3 with Seattle, I'm taking Seattle for sure.
100%. I'm hammering that.
Yeah.
But it's again, it just feels a little fishy to me.
I always get nervous when like the line moves in the total opposite way that I'm expecting it.
Exactly. And so maybe it is. Maybe there's a lot of faith in the get right scenario for the Buccaneers, because I mean, they are now back in first place in the NFC South at 4-5, but still first place, a very emotional win, to get Tom Brady swearing at the post-game press conference and all that stuff. He's hugging Byron Leftwich. I mean, it did feel like a little bit of an exhale type of a game for the Buccaneers that they were able to walk away with that win.
Yeah, like I do wonder if it's a launching pad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where they're like, okay. And if you look at the Buccaneers schedule, they are going to take a break. So they have this game and then they're bye. And they know that one of the Falcons or Panthers, like the Panthers could be eliminated, or if the Panthers win, the Falcons drop a game back, right? Because they play on Thursday. So they'll have seen how that plays out. And then the Saints, of course, who lost on Monday night, have to go play at the Steelers. They could fall to 3-7. If you're Tampa, you could conceivably wake up with a full game and a half lead over the Falcons and with the Saints and the Panthers looking like they're done.
And I'll tell you this too. When you look at Tankathon, they have like the rest of strength of schedule for the remainder of the season. They have the 29th or the fourth easiest schedule in the NFL. Opponents' win percentage is 429.
The Bucks do.
Yeah.
I sort of think that it might be not a terrible bet to. I mean, minus 220 is probably too much to division winner. That's what it was last. Yeah, minus 220 for the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really want to lay that, but I mean, like,
they're in a position, and like I said, it does feel like maybe things have shifted a little bit because of that 40 seconds. But I still feel like Seattle. Okay, so 40 seconds as opposed to 9 weeks of what the Seattle Seahawks have showed us. It just feels a little bit off balance. That's all I can say about that.
So you could bet right now on a parlay at Caesars. And I realize not everybody can do this, but you could take the Buccaneers, Ravens, Vikings, and Chiefs to win their division respectively. So, I mean, feel pretty good about the Ravens.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Feel very good about the Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
Feel very good about the Chiefs. And Tampa minus 220, that's a plus 112 parlay.
That's fun.
I mean, I don't hate that. I mean,
no.
Like the Vikings are minus 3,000. Like the Vikings
what if you threw Tennessee in there?
Oh, where's Tennessee? Good call. I threw the Eagles in there too. Titans in it's plus 183. Throw the Eagles in there plus 242.
Not bad.
I mean, a lot of weird things can happen down the stretch, but maybe the move is to take out the anyway, this is probably convoluted, but whatever. The Ravens are the only, I mean, I think the Ravens are going to win the division, but they are a little like minus 450 is pretty steep for them. Right?
I mean, if you really want to catapult it, throw the Dolphins in there. Kind of brace for a Josh Allen decision. Or what happens with his elbow.
That line could move so quick. Wow, it's down to 4. It's down to 4-1 already.
I just was looking at it.
Oh man, I meant to take that at plus 6-1 last night. Crap. All right, let's take a peek at okay, anyway, let's move on to another game.
Sure.
I'll
go down the rabbit hole.
As I peek in my own. Oh, anyway, Bills minus 6 versus Vikings.
Sure. Yeah.
There we go. Isn't that convenient? We meant to do it. I don't see how you don't take the Vikings in this plus 6, knowing that like if Josh Allen's out, this line is like Bills minus 2. It's like a pick 'em.
Right. And so they were saying that they were still evaluating. I think Chris Mortensen of ESPN had a report that it was it like a lat? It's almost like a baseball player.
It's like Tommy John-ish.
Okay. And so you're already seeing this moving considerably because the look ahead on this was 9.5 in the favor of the Bills. And you're coming out of Sunday. It already moved down to 8.5, 7. And it is moving considerably now in the wrong direction for Buffalo. Not to mention the fact that the Vikings have been good. As much as I've kind of
Vikings are 7-1.
Right. As much as I've kind of like beaten up, I feel like a little bit on Kirk Cousins and not really like having too much faith in him long term. They've played well. They can win these type of games. Last I checked, this game's at 1:00, so it should be fine. Like I think that you could very much roll with the Vikings in this one as long as it stays under 7, because we still don't really know about Josh Allen. That would make me feel comfortable.
He's being evaluated for a right elbow injury to the ulnar collateral ligament, aka the UCL, and the related nerves. A source told ESPN's Chris Mortensen. Sean McDermott said, "We're just going through it, still evaluating it, and see where it goes. I'll know more in the next 24 hours, and then probably be able to check in with the media back on Wednesday." So then we record this on Tuesday on YouTube, youtube.com/pick6. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button, hit subscribe, turn on alerts. You'll be notified when we go live. Alan said there's some slight pain. This is what he said after the game, but we'll get through it. I think there's a chance that they just could sit him for this game.
Right.
Like, even if he's healthy, you can't get your quarterback, your franchise quarterback hurt in your Super Bowl season. Like, you're better off sitting him for sitting him for a week and then bringing him back and like letting him rest, I think.
Yeah, especially when you kind of look at what their schedule is ahead too. Obviously, they have Cleveland, and then it's a short week on Thanksgiving against Detroit. It's then you get New England on a following Thursday. It just, it's going to ramp up, and they have a little bit more critical games. This is an NFC opponent. That matters. If you were to rest him, this would be the game. The rest are, you have an AFC opponent, then it's a short week. That might be the move there. I wouldn't necessarily, turn my nose to it if that was the course of action. Like we were saying, this team has much bigger aspirations than
in beating the Vikings
in week 10. It doesn't
Yeah.
it need not apply. They've built up enough of a record at 6-2 that you can roll the dice a little bit. And if that means Josh Allen's healthy the rest of the way and you can still maintain the fact that you're the Super Bowl favorite, I wouldn't roll that out. So again, this one's worth watching.
Yeah, the Bills have the Vikings at home, the Browns at home the following week, then a Thursday Thanksgiving game against at the Lions, before at the Patriots. Oh man, Jets at home, Dolphins at home.
Like those are the games you need him for.
You have to have those division games.
Yeah, like
because you could still you could still end up being the 2 seed, and that's not the 1 is much more preferable to the 2, but I think that you would rather win the division than have to find yourself as a wild card. And you're going to win the division by like if you had to choose between, and I know this is kind of a tough one to do, like between the 1 and the 2, like you could be the 2 seed versus the 1 seed. But then the alternate universe is you're the wild card versus a division winner. Like I'm saying, give me the home. I want the home game and the division win.
I know what you're saying. The home gate, as opposed, you would value the home gate to a going on the road more than having the bye.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, the reality is you've got the tiebreaker of the Chiefs, but like the Chiefs are probably, I mean, if you press Josh Allen too much and he gets hurt and all, you get the point. I mean, I just think that you got to be a little careful here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is, again, one of those things. If we hear more about Allen and if they do decide to do what we're kind of talking about and possibly sit him, you're looking at Minnesota, 1.5, 2.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I would take the Vikings now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I don't think if Josh Allen plays, that it's going to shoot up to 9.
No, I don't think it's going back. I think you're probably looking at like 7.5. That's probably
max.
Yeah, that's probably where we're going to sit.
Max. I don't think it moves a ton. I think 6 is baked in. Like Josh Allen's playing, but we don't know if he's completely healthy.
Okay.
Right. I'll tell you what, let's take a break, and when we come back, more betting trends next.
The UEFA Champions League on Paramount Plus. 9 months of heart-stopping, hold-your-breath exhilaration.
That's brilliant!
With more magic and more drama. While the former Bavarian nails it back to the net in Barcelona, an American trades his stars with zebra stripes, and a Norwegian creates sky blue spectacles.
Oh,
so stream every sweat-soaked second of regulation time, stoppage time, and extra time.
Beyond magnificent!
This is the best of the best of the best. This is the UEFA Champions League. Stream every match live, exclusively on Paramount Plus.
Before we move on to another game, Alex over in the chat did ask, have we talked about how ripped Kirk Cousins is? We did at some point.
I think we did it yesterday.
Yeah, you and I. Yeah. It's insane. Like not the 6-pack you would expect.
No, not at all. We were talking about him and Mac Jones.
I guess I should say. Yeah.
Right. It's not the doughboy dad bod. It is chiseled Cousins. He's got nice.
I said I kind of expected more like Mac Jonesies.
Yeah, no, this he's cut. Kirk.
Yeah.
Cut Kirk, man. He's ready to go.
I'm trying to see if there's anything. Nope. So they're just not going to see. That's weird to me. That just one more thing on the Josh Allen injury, that they would come out on Monday and say, we're just going to figure it out. I'll know more in the next 24 hours. And then he's like, I'll update the media on Wednesday. That's a long time to figure out if you're the leader in the MVP race and your franchise quarterback and like one of the 3 best players in professional football has like a Tommy John situation going on. Like
that feels, and again, obviously we don't know anything, we're just speculating, but that feels to me when you say, oh, I'll update you in 24 hours on a Monday and saying you're not talking to me on Wednesday, that's more than 24 hours. That feels like more tests are being done because they don't like the first tests, right? Like that feels like we need to triple check.
When somebody's like, I'll get you an update by Wednesday, it's like, I'm like,
It's like, yeah,
I probably could have just updated me on Tuesday.
because you're not like,
You're
because
telling me that you're not getting just let us know whenever you find out, Doc. Like, no big deal. Like, we're not in a rush to find out if this guy's okay. What? Like, what?
That's
No.
exactly what we're saying. Like, it's not like the Bills are like, oh, you can only get an appointment on Tuesday at 4. All right, just take that and sit in the waiting room and you'll be fine. This has already happened. All these exams are already going on.
This guy was under the microscope nonstop from like the end of that game Sunday until they're like, you get those tests done immediately, and you know. And so if you're worried it's a UCL injury, I swear I thought he had a previous UCL injury. I'm gonna see if I can find it. Sometimes Draft Sharks has he had an arm elbow sprain in 2018. Josh Allen arm injury 2018. Sorry, I know I'm supposed to be Googling stuff, but I wanted to know. Yeah, you know what? We'll figure it out later. Anyway, I was on Jim Rome's show on Monday, and he would point out that the injury site, like the Pro Football Doc, and he's like, Rome was pointing, he's like, I'm an investor in it, just full disclosure, but like he said, the video that they saw like made them extremely concerned for what could be the issue with that injury.
Talking about blowing up the entire market if something a little bit more serious happens.
Right. Then all of a sudden, like Mahomes because if Allen were to miss any time at all,
that Miami pick for the division is live.
Miami becomes like 2-1.
Yeah.
Brian J has an interesting theory here. I don't know much about the injury, but my theory is he got injured against Green Bay, and if he sat against the Jets, it wouldn't have progressed to the degree of needing surgery. Now we don't want to don't post that coming up, but because I don't want to get sued by somebody. But I agree. I think there's the way he was holding it, it's just very concerning.
Because think about it like this. This is again, it's tough to compare how each team handles injuries differently. But we heard about Aaron Jones and Gary in the matter of 12 hours from the Green Bay Packers after. Good news and bad news. Good news for Aaron Jones that he's probably going to be fine, could play this week. Gary out for the season. Josh Allen is more important than those players, I would say, just because of the position that he plays. And they're just a little bit close to the vest. That's a little concerning for me. That tells me, or my instincts go up and say, they're doing multiple rounds of tests because there's if they saw everything was fine, then you'd say, okay, we're done. We're good.
See, and this is the tweet that got my antenna up on it too. And not to belabor the point on Josh Allen, but this is Ian Rappaport. Josh Allen is likely to be limited this week because of an elbow injury suffered late in Sunday's loss. But as of now, it's considered a situation to monitor rather than an ailment that would keep him out of the game, sources say. He's still undergoing test, to be sure. Then you have Chris Mortensen, who, by the way, is very close to Josh Allen's camp. He was, I mean, he's been right on everything, everything about Josh Allen. And let's see, Sports Injury Central, I guess, is the SI score. I didn't be logged into this to get the. I mean, a UCL sprain right elbow. I mean, that's a problem. Okay. Anyway, moving on.
Real quickly, though, let's just play the game here. If Allen's out this week, we do get Case Keenum and Stephon Diggs going up against the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, what about revenge?
So,
oh my God.
I mean,
was that revenge or is that revenge for the Vikings?
See, I don't know. I'm like, this is the Miami Miracle Bizarro World Multiverse thing going on. That's kind of what it feels like.
Interesting. That is, yeah. It's like, I don't know how that revenge works. It's a good call though. Yeah. So Allen skipped the ball in the next play. Interesting stuff. It is something to monitor. I find the timeline to be very bizarre, and it gets my antenna up after having done this long enough. Where like when the team, he's going to be limited, and we'll see what they say about it on Wednesday. I wouldn't be surprised if he's ruled out late in the week.
And so if this thing goes back up, like if we hear, like, where are you at in terms of betting this at the moment? Right now, it's
I would bet the Vikings right now.
Bet the Vikings.
I kind of want to bet the Vikings right now.
Take the points with the Vikings. If this thing goes, I mean, it would have to swing. It would have to swing all the way in Minnesota's favor for you to at all think about the Bills at this point, right? You would have to be getting points for Buffalo, or if this was even money.
If I had Minnesota +6, and Case Keenum was announced as the starter and it was a pick'em or Minnesota -1, then I would probably take Buffalo.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in the same
And just
kind
have
of
that window and just like have the window where I can't lose.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So there's like a 7-point window where if it's a 3-point game, which the Vikings have played these 1-score games all the time, then all of a sudden you feel pretty good about.
I mean, they needed what, a 13-point rally to beat Taylor Heineke? I mean, a Ken Dorsey led offense with Case Keenum, who I guess, we already know he has a report, Steph Diggs. All right, there's a conversation there.
Oh, the Bills can still win the game. Yeah. Well, that's why you don't risk Josh Allen if you think you can win it with Steph Diggs. I mean, with Case Keenum.
Yeah.
Moving along, Cowboys -5 at the Packers. Wow. Imagine telling somebody this before the season. I was doing a radio hit. I think it was with Darren Smith in San Diego, and I was like, I think next year before the season, I'm gonna try and find. Maybe we'll do this for the podcast. Well, we definitely do it for the podcast, but like try and find like 10 just outrageous scenarios. Like come up with and we'll score it. And like each person comes up with 10 just idiotic scenarios. Whether it could be like the Jets go 6-3,
Yep.
or like the Cowboys are favored in Green Bay in Week 10 in Mike McCarthy's first return to Lambeau Field against Aaron Rodgers, and it's like, but Rodgers is healthy. If I told you that before the season, you'd be like, well, that's just you'd be like, that's not true.
Right. You would say
you wouldn't believe you would be like, that is an idiot. That's an idiot idea.
I would believe you more if you said that Sean Payton was the head coach at this point.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so I think I don't even know that I could have conceivably come up with that.
I know, right? Like that would be interesting. That'd be an interesting exercise.
But I don't know if my brain would be able to get to Cowboys favored in Green Bay in Week 10. Aaron Rodgers is healthy. It's a bridge too far. And yet, not only are they favored, Sully, the line is moving in their direction as I predicted on Sunday when talking with Breech in the early odds. This was 4.5. It's now 5. The total is 43. I mean, this is clearly a revenge game for Mike McCarthy, right? Or is it a revenge game for Aaron Rodgers?
I don't know who it's a revenge for. Probably Mike McCarthy more than anything, going back into Lambeau. But this
an emotional Mike McCarthy, by the way.
This is just what Vegas and the odds makers are telling you. They have given up on Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers. They may have been holding out hope because weren't they? They were favored going against Detroit, right? So they were favored in Detroit, right? I'm not making that up, right? It was like 3.5.
Yeah, they're definitely favored. Yeah.
And so, at that point, I think they're like, you know what? Let's mail it in. This thing's toast. Rodgers can't figure it out. 3 interceptions in the red zone, 2 of them in the end zone last week. And like we were talking about yesterday, I mean, a couple of those, specifically the one to Bakhtiari, that was all on Rodgers. He just couldn't physically get the ball to where it needed to go. He was just short on it. And so when you see stuff like that, and then you see reports of him dealing with the right thumb injury, he's out on Wednesdays, blah, 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 your antennas go up more than just, okay, they're missing Devontae Adams. He's not making throws at certain points, which is concerning, and they're not running the offense like we were discussing.
But they're yeah. By the way, that's if you're interested in a deeper dive on the Packers, with somebody who covers them and watches every play 50 times a week, check out Monday's show with Aaron Nagler, myself, and Sully doing the press coverage show.
And you have a Packers team it's 1-2 against the spread at home. Dallas, they're coming off the bye. They're a league best 6-2 against the spread. They're also 6-1 in their last 7 road games against the spread. This just feels like the bottom could really fall out. If it didn't fall out last week in Detroit, it could really blow doors against the Cowboys this week at home, which we've already seen them lose to the New York Jets. So, I mean, it's not like Lambeau Field has become this place where they turn into a different team. They can very much be had here.
Absolutely. Looking at the Ben Baldwin does, the NFL, the tiers weekly by EPA per play, with offense on the defense vertically defense vertical axis, offense horizontal axis. Cowboys are just slightly below average on offense in terms of their EPA per play, but way up there in terms of defense. One of the 4 best teams in terms of defensive EPA per play. The Packers are slightly below average on defense and behind the Titans and Cardinals and Bucks and dead even with the Jets in terms of offensive EPA. They're just not a very good team. Like in this quadrant, this bottom left quadrant, the Bears are not there. The Raiders are not there. The Falcons are not there. It's the Lions, who are just terrible on defense. And the Lions, the Chargers, the Cardinals, the Packers, the Steelers, the Texans, and the Panthers. That's where they live right now.
Yeah.
Now they're closer to getting into another, like they're closer to a better quadrant than some of the other teams, but they're just not very good.
And they're facing a Dallas team that I just feel like has the ability. I mean, we saw this before against Chicago. They have the ability to just run away with things. 49 points. They can drop 50 on you in a hat on the turn of a hat. And you have Dak Prescott, who is now not only has games under him since returning, but he has a full week of rest coming off the bye. I mean, it just feels like, and possibly even Zeke Elliott after 2 weeks off, could be a tough day for them, because the biggest thing for me outside of Aaron Rodgers and the offensive struggles are you can run on the Packers. You can run on this team. So this could be a big Tony Pollard, Ezekiel Elliott type of game on top of what we see from Dak, CeeDee Lamb, Schultz, and you go down the list there. This could be a big Zeke and Pollard game too.
Yeah. It feels like they could lean into the run, pound the ball, force Aaron Rodgers to be one-dimensional. He suddenly, Micah Parsons is,
Well, if Aiden Hutchinson is making plays, what's Micah Parsons going to do? I mean, he's just going to wreck the game.
He's going to thrash him. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's going to get ugly potentially. I don't see how I could take the Packers here. It's like, it's like, I guess the Packers did cover against the Bills, didn't they?
Yeah, but that was what? Was it 11? 10 and a half?
It was like 13.
Or was it 13, really? So, I mean, we're talking about 5 points. And again, albeit, they were on the road and all that. Now they're at home, but still 5 points. I'll lay 5 points. The Cowboys should win this by a touchdown. I can't imagine that this turns into any sort of a field goal type of game.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
especially with Romeo Doubs now out, Aaron Jones expected to
play. He's going to play, I think.
But dinged up.
Yeah. You kind of run on the Cowboys too. If they were to like lean in and just pound the ball and like actually do what Nagler said they should do, then maybe they can run the ball effectively.
They just haven't. They've just refused to do that to this point. So it's tough to keep saying if they do this, if they do this, if they do this.
Exactly.
They're telling you they're not doing it.
They're going to start now. Exactly. All right, let's take a look at. I keep going back and forth. Our boss Eric K is complaining that we didn't talk about. Anyway, I don't need to complain about him. Nobody cares about him. Colts at the Raiders. Raiders now minus 6.5, over under 42.5. That line has moved half a point. Finally, on the news that Jeff Saturday is the coach of the Indianapolis Colts. We don't know yet who is going to call plays because there's nobody on the roster or the coaching staff who's ever called plays before, which is a thing I'm pretty sure we've said on this podcast 17 times in the last 48 hours. Nevertheless.
It's worth repeating because it's not only this. Not only are we talking about not having an offensive play caller, but it's not like Matt Ryan's the quarterback either, who has decades of experience and can kind of do it by himself. You're talking about Sam Ehlinger, who's what? This is going to be his third start. It's not like you have a veteran in there that could kind of run things on his own. You're green all over the place on offense in terms of play calling.
Oh, here's a good point. At the Honest NFL, this is via our pal Ryan Wilson. He said Scott Milanovich called the plays of Jacksonville after Hackett was fired. So I don't know why people are saying there's nobody with experience doing it on the Colts staff. If you got anybody with experience calling any plays, you got to be the play caller.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think they've announced yet as of Tuesday afternoon as we're recording this. If there's going to be somebody who is going to call the plays, that would make sense, though. I like the idea of Reggie Wayne calling plays.
Sure.
Jeff Saturday, Reggie Wayne just marching up and down the field.
Well, I'll tell you a different kind of storyline that I'm watching for this game. Obviously, everybody's watching Jeff Saturday. How's this Colts Frankenstein kind of coaching staff going to work itself out? But for me, I'm concerned for Josh McDaniels, because what happens if Jeff Saturday beats him? What happens if all of a sudden, like we saw last week, where it kind of felt like they were going to get right against Jacksonville, they blow a 17-point lead, and then all of a sudden you're talking about another coach very much on the hot seat,
I agree with you. Like, I mean, it's like Wilson said last night after recapping Monday Night Football. It's like, how can you can't lose if you're Josh McDaniels, you can't lose to the team that you ditched, who just fired the guy who replaced you with Jeff Saturday, with no reasonable play call, nobody with any reasonable play calling experience, and at home as a 7-point favorite against Sam Ellinger. And like you can't lose this game.
And I'll tell you, I don't think that's going to happen. I like the Raiders in this spot. I don't know if I'd be laying 6 points here, to be perfectly honest with you, but I don't see that happening. But it's one thing that I'm watching, because if the doors fall off and just everything goes awry and this whole thing kind of rebounds in favor of the Colts, Josh McDaniels is in a lot of trouble. That dude's in a lot of trouble. But I'll say this. The Raiders defensively should be able to match up well. We saw the Patriots absolutely maul them last week. Matt Judon was an absolute force. I think they had, 9 sacks in the game? It was just an onslaught. Max Crosby can be a similar type of impact player that Matt Judon was and wreck the game defensively.
The Colts are absolute crap. I mean,
along the offensive line and Ellinger just this should be a game that they get right, the Raiders. It's just a very interesting scenario because of how poorly they've played so far.
Yeah, I think are the Colts getting revenge on McDaniels, or is McDaniels getting revenge on the Colts? A lot of double revenge games this week.
Yeah, it's also
I got one revenge game last week. Now I got to parse which side of the revenge.
We don't even know what the revenge is for, though. At certain points, it's like, well, I guess McDaniels could have gone. It's just
McDaniels left him at the altar, so the Colts should be trying to get revenge.
The Colts
on McDaniels.
Should be mad.
Yeah, like Jim Dorsey definitely hates Josh McDaniels.
Sure. Absolutely.
And Chris Ballard probably does too. But I don't, but I feel like Josh McDaniels could be like getting some revenge. I don't know. I think
just like, haha, I am good. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know I don't know if that's revenge or if it's just a little vanity.
Spite. Well, there's spite. It's like, hey, like,
yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I don't look, did it have to be revenge? Can you just be spite?
Sure.
All right. Too much going on here. Finally, let's talk MVP odds and offensive rookie of the year odds. Looking at these future bets, MVP is interesting because you can't price out Josh Allen. Like, he has to stay where he was.
But I'll tell you what, did it flip? Because I'm seeing Mahomes now.
Mahomes is now the favorite at 2-1. Allen plus 225. Jalen Hurts plus 250. Lamar all the way up to 9-1 after the Ravens won against the Saints on Monday night. Tua down. Wow. Tua down from 20-1 to 15-1 today. Joe Burrow 20-1. Geno Smith 25-1. He's in the mix. He's just in the mix, people. And then basically a huge drop off after that, where you have Cousins and Herbert at 50-1, Dak and Tyreek at 100-1, Tom Brady at 100-1, Justin Jefferson 125, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, none of these guys. I don't think anybody down past. I would consider Tyreek at 100-1. I know
I was just going to bring that up. That's exactly who I
last night, and they were like, "That's insane." I'm like, look, I mean, Tyreek,
yes, it's he's a wide receiver, so yes, it is insane for that respect because the MVP is a quarterback award.
You could easily make the case that it's like people will look at what the Dolphins did and say it's because they added Tyreek.
Like I'm with you. I think that if you are gonna give Tua Tagovailoa votes, they actually should be Tyreek Hill votes, because the reason why Tua is having the year that he has is because of Tyreek Hill being in that offense.
And if he has, by the way, Offensive Player of the Year award, Tyreek Hill is going to be. He's going to be on the list.
I was going to say he should be smashing that.
I was going to see if he's anything above 10-1 or like 3-1. Yes, can't do that. Although I mean, you could argue he's going to cruise that.
I mean, we're talking about a guy that could conceivably break the all-time receiving yards record this year and the all-time reception yards record in a single season. I mean, he's on track for at least one of those and in the ballpark for the other. If he does that and the Dolphins win the division, I don't know. Again, he's a wide receiver. This is a quarterback award, but that would be the closest thing I think we would get since Derrick Henry a couple of years ago.
Well, it's just like you could, like, didn't Cooper Kupp get more votes than Matthew Stafford last year? For MVP?
Probably.
Let me look at 20.
Probably. And it's a similar kind of thing. I mean, it's Tua he's not doing what Patrick Mahomes did, for a great example, last week against Tennessee. It's
Rodgers got 39, Brady got 10, Cooper Kupp got 1, Matthew Stafford got 0.
okay.
So, and now that's the tough, but now here's the catch is that, and the problem is like Tyreek, Jalen Hurts has to fall off some.
Yeah.
Mahomes has to sort of struggle down the stretch. Like, I think that there's a case to be made where if Hurts doesn't finish the way he started, like Hurts would be my MVP right now.
Yep.
If Josh Allen's hurt, Hurts kind of struggles, and Mahomes is like just fine, that you could see the case being made for Tyreek Hill in a season where there's just not a ton of great quarterback play.
Right. And so the thing is, for me,
and
obviously,
and Tua's missed games.
yeah. I mean, he's what? Well, that's true too. I know if you're making the case for Tyreek Hill, he's maintained his production pretty much, right?
Yeah.
No matter who his quarterback's been, so that will almost help his MVP candidacy, if you will. But I would say probably Jalen Hurts is going to be a tough one to beat, like you're saying, because if all of a sudden if they mess around and they're like, 17-0 or 16-1,
or even 14-3.
I mean, that number one seed by a mile.
I mean, I have Hurts preseason, so I'm not going to be dabbling in it,
Yep.
Oh, wait, hold on. We just got to. Oh. All right, here we go. Okay. Colts interim head coach Jeff Saturday is expected to have 30-year-old pass game specialist, assistant quarterbacks coach Parks Frazier serve as the offensive play caller starting Sunday against the Raiders, sources tell me in Rap Sheet, according to Tom Pelissero.
Okay.
30-year-old. Sure.
Does he have experience? Fine. Whatever. Or
I
or they
doubt
just,
he has any experience.
or they view him as just an interesting offensive mind. Fine. But I wonder how much that's will this impact the line at all? I mean, I don't know. I think it's going to pretty much stay the same. I think this isn't really going to do too much for me.
I mean, this is wild.
It's insane.
We got to figure out what Parks Frazier's experience is real quick. Let's just let's see. He was at Samford in 2015 as a defensive quality control assistant, Middle Tennessee State, Arkansas State, joined Indianapolis Colts as assistant to the head coach.
So he's Dwight.
He's Dwight Schrute for 2 years. Well, offensive quality control in 2020, assistant quarterbacks coach in 2021, pass game specialist, assistant quarterbacks coach in 2022. Man. Okay.
Interesting times in Indy.
Oh, he did work with Phillip Rivers in 2020.
There you go. Well,
they're like in 2020 he assisted with the offense. They like mentioned Phillip Rivers and how well he played. Okay. That's quite the look. I don't want to question the guy.
Right. Obviously nobody knows. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't even really know. But it just feels like there's just way too much.
He was born in 1991.
So he's like a little older. He's a little older than me.
Yeah, he's 30.
And I wouldn't run I shouldn't run an offense.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like he's got like an active Twitter account. That's how like
he had top friends once in MySpace. Like he's right there.
No, yeah. He never had MySpace. That's the thing. It's like he's like too young to have MySpace.
Oh,
okay.
Man. All right, sure.
All right. Finally, let's talk offensive player of the year. As we mentioned, offensive rookie of the year. Excuse me. Oh, they actually have offensive rookie of the year, offensive player of the year up. Kenneth Walker, the favorite at -110. Damian Pierce +160. Chris Olave 9-1. Garrett Wilson 16-1. Drake London 25-1. Brian Robinson 25-1. Wandale 25-1. George Pickens 33-1. I remember when George Pickens was like 8-1 before the season. And then Pickett, Pacheco, Rashad White, Bailey Zappi. I don't see a whole lot of love on here. Any thoughts on offensive rookie of the year?
I think these have been pretty volatile from week to week.
Oh, they've been flying all over the place.
So you can I think that there is a little bit of value. The first I'll go, and it's not as obviously as much value, but 9-1 for Chris Olave. I
Yeah,
think
Olave stood out to me. I mean,
really interesting. 9 targets last night, over 70 yards. He, with Michael Thomas now officially out for the year, he is someone who's going to get a ton of volume. And if he starts just, piling up stats, he's somebody that is really interesting to me. The other one is I think George Pickens at 33-1 is interesting because they were on the bye last week. And I think everybody's kind of sleeping on it, and they lose Chase Claypool, or they trade away Chase Claypool, opening up more targets. I think Claypool was averaging around 6 targets a game. If he takes half of those and already kind of has that rapport with Kenny Pickett, he has the talent to go on a pretty significant run down the stretch.
sure.
And especially when we envision Pittsburgh maybe trailing and at some point in all of their games. So they're going to be chucking it all over the field. George Pickens to me is interesting because this feels like an award that whoever's going to win it is going to win it in the final 6 weeks. They have to build a foundation prior to that.
Well, we saw it where Jamar Chase flipped it last year.
Yeah.
Mac Jones was rolling and he completely flipped it on him. So yeah, I think it needs to be somebody. I also think it needs to be, the only downside with Pickens is you can win this award without your team being great. Like we've seen, but you have to put up. I think if you're going to make a push at the end of the year, it helps to make a push that like Jamar Chase's monster game came against the Chiefs. They beat the Chiefs. They steal the division. Yada yada yada. Like all that stuff helps in a big way. So
there is maybe that narrative there with Olave, not so much.
Maybe Garrett Wilson too.
Yep. But not so much. Obviously, not so much Pickens. But Olave, I mean, that division, everybody's under 500. I know they lost last night, but New Orleans could easily be the team that rises to the top. And if Olave is their leading receiver and he's blowing doors, then that's interesting right now at 9-1. I believe it was 8-1 last night too, so it's actually moved in the other.
I'll tell you who's a sneaky one. Oh, this is the bet I would make.
Sure.
Isaiah Likely 100-1.
Ooh.
What if Mark Andrews is banged up and misses a ton of time, and Isaiah Likely becomes this focal point for the Ravens offense at tight end?
Yeah, especially when there was already kind of a preseason.
And he caught a touchdown last night. Didn't really move because it's already. I actually don't think that. I mean, this is dumb. Kenneth Walker -110 is. I don't want to. We're 9 weeks into the season. There's so much time left.
And you never know. I mean, that's
one injury.
I'm not taking that for injury just purposes alone.
Exactly. But it does feel like he could, if he plays the entire season, it feels like he could run away with it.
Yeah. For sure.
All right. That is it for us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with the Brady Quinn Football Show. We'll decide what charity Brady will be donating another $1,000 to for the Jets' victory. I think it's up to $4,000.
That is a tough look. I mean, right? I mean, hey, listen, that's great. It's going to charity and everything, but I'm sure Brady's happy to do it. But at the same time, he's like,
I think he was probably thinking he was going to have to worry about giving away $2,000 or $3,000 for the year. It's a lot of game left, buddy. For Sully, I'm Brinson. Talk to you guys later.